Hello, welcome to Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid, a podcast that explores sustainable solutions for the most pressing issues facing our planet and communities today. I'm Planet Aid's Communications Manager, Haley Chitty, and I'm going to turn it over to our host, Planet Aid's Communication and Content Specialist, Monica Johnson, and I'll jump back in later to ask a few follow-up questions and tie it back to Planet Aid. Monica, thanks so much and take it away.
Thank you, Haley, and welcome to Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid. I'm Monica Johnson, Communications Content Specialist at Planet Aid, and I'm going to be your guide for this journey as we take challenging situations and try to simplify them. And it's also an opportunity to learn from incredible individuals and organizations at the forefront of developing and implementing sustainable solutions. Change is not only possible, but it is essential, and it begins with understanding. And today we have a special guest. Today we're going to be talking to Charles Kamenides, Executive Director of National Recycling Coalition. And just to give you a few cliff notes on the NRC, it's the umbrella for recycling organizations from across North America. So as you can imagine, Charles is doing some really heavy lifting. So welcome to our show, Charles. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So first things first, as I said, you are the Executive Director for the National Recycling Coalition. Can you talk to us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in solid waste management and ultimately recycling at the NRC?
Absolutely. My career and my involvement in waste and recycling began well over 20 years ago, working here in Colorado for a local municipality, and I became the manager for the Public Works Department. And within that department, of course, in Public Works, there's a variety of different divisions, but one of them was the waste and recycling. And what that allowed me to learn and what I was managing was not only the collections and the men and women that picked up the materials at the curbside, but I was able to also, my role was to work with our council and with our regional governments so that it's not just an operational component, but it was learning and helping to build a new program and understanding the laws and working with the public and, rates and fees and all that. But also my role involved regionally. So I was part of the regional solid waste advisory boards and the resource conservation advisory board. I worked in the county. I worked along with some people in the state. I became very involved in the solid waste program here in Colorado, learning a lot about the importance of messaging and communication, understanding our community, but also understanding how to market and how to talk to our communities about the importance of reducing waste or diverting waste. So quite a bit of detail in doing that. And of course, along the way, learning about MRFs and MRF operation and supporting and markets and circular economies. So that's kind of my background. So I did that for 20 plus years here in Colorado and was able to institute a number of different programs, enhancing what we have as a pay-as-you-throw program. We initiated one of the first municipalities to initiate every other week trash collection. And we did that in an effort to launch our curbside organics program as kind of an incentive to say, if you really reduce your landfill material, but really use your recycle bin and your organics bin, you can really reduce the impact to our environment, methane releases and landfilling and all that. And of course, increase our recycling and our organics collection. So it was pretty successful.
I was just going to ask, that actually is such a great idea. I'm wondering, how was it received in the first place?
It was received very popular, actually. That whole program, that campaign, reduced what we had. So the majority of our residents, 80% had a 96-gallon container, and 20% had a 48-gallon container. And once we initiated that program, the numbers changed quite a bit. So the number of people that had the large trash container reduced I retired from the city a year ago, but we were about 50% had the 96-gallon container, and then the rest was divided between the weekly small container and the every other week container.
That
And it
sounds
really helped to increase our waste diversion measures. You know, our recycling rate, we got it almost to 40% here and you know, we still, once I left, we were really still developing our sustainability plan and embarking into the commercial sector a little bit. But it was really popular, very popular with the residents. Not only does it do um, not only did it allow us to reduce waste and it also helped reduce the cost of trash
Mhm.
bill for the resident because the big container, right, pay as you throw. The big container costs more than the small container and the smallest container costs less.
Wow. Now I'm
So it
not,
was a fun program to initiate. I was very privileged to be able to do that.
good. I mean, I don't know much about those percentages, but that sounds pretty high, 40%.
Not the
It's,
highest in Colorado. Colorado's pretty aggressive, but when you look
yeah.
nationally, right? Nationally, our diversion rates are in the 30%, if that.
So that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Prior to serving as board director and vice president, you were involved in many facets of the NRC. So, what did you see that led you to uh, lend so much of your time and expertise to the organization?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I was involved, I'll take it back a little bit. I was involved heavily with our local regional Recycle Colorado organization quite a bit. And of course, you know, working, having my role as a manager, but also being involved across the state with Recycle Colorado really gave me a greater awareness of the challenges and the good things that were happening in waste. And then through Recycle Colorado, I was introduced by a really great colleague of mine to the National Recycling Coalition. And it really opened my eyes not only to what I was doing here locally and then regionally in Colorado, but how nationally it all kind of fits together and
Mhm.
how the challenges and the successes are really mm, they're really aligned with what's happening in the bigger scale. So I started to become involved with the National Recycling Coalition and started to meet people from across the country and learn of these really great individuals that have been doing recycling and sustainability for decades and became more involved. And I was invited to become a board member, and I became a board member and got involved with the organization and the business, but also what is it we were doing. And at the time, the NRC is going through a life cycle, and in the day, NRC was in, and I think it still is, the organization to be with. But we're kind of growing right now, and so I became involved to help really lift up what the NRC is and what its message is, because it's an organization that began in 1978. And I'm gonna lift up Gary Liss as a founding member. He's a lifetime board member, but he actually helped
Mhm.
found. He was one of the two that founded the NRC back in 1970, and he's still with us today on the board. But to learn from him and to be inspired by people like him, and then to learn about others across the country. I mean, the good work that Planet Aid is doing as well, because recycling and waste is not just at your curbside, it's all the other components. Um, but that really inspired me to be more involved and to help facilitate and to help support all these actions that are happening across the North America, the United States, from Hawaii all the way to Puerto Rico and Northeast, because a lot of the waste that we have is actually it's really capturable and reusable. And I mean, to me, it makes good economic sense. It creates jobs, reduces impact to the environment. So I mean,
Okay.
all of those together, I kind of rambled a little, but all that
No.
together really inspires me to be a part of the NRC. And really interestingly, so I was part of the board of directors, and we're starting to get traction and move forward. And we said it's time to hire an executive director. So I kind of bowed away from being on the board and applied, and they did select me to help do this. So my job is to get the ship going in the right direction, and we seem to be doing something and
Yeah.
making a stand right now. So
Good, good, good. And I'm going to take a A line from G.I. Joe and say, knowing is half the battle. I love the fact that there are so many different kinds of members on the NRC. So, can you talk about the various members on the NRC? There's a wide variety of expertise covering every facet of recycling.
There is, there is. I have to use my cheat sheet here, but
Sure.
we have people on our board who are from the collection program. So, I'm not on the board, but that's a really strong strength I bring is, it's the political and, how do you deal with your councils and all that. But
Hmm.
how do you get a group of men and women to collect and to be clean and to be safe, right? But then we have consultants on board. So like Gary Liss is a consultant with well over 50 years of experience dealing with waste and recycling and all of those things. And we have folks from the U.S. Green Build Council. So that brings a different representation, not just from trash and recycling, but from construction and demolition. And that's the next, I think, hurdle is, construction demolition type material and building our buildings with LEED certifications so that they're efficient and reusable. We have people on our board from the Pennsylvania Resources Council. Goodwill is one of our board members. So Marine Chowhurdy is on our board, and she represents a really different facet of recycling and reuse, and providing service to the community. We have Recycle Hawaii. I just always love to bring Recycle Hawaii in. Christine Hubat does such a great job because island groups and island nations have a different perspective, and they have to look at everything, not just trash and recycle, but everything in a holistic perspective. We have composters. We have Fertile Ground represented by Lisa Brewer, and Bay Area Compliance. Lisa Puckett is a new member with us who has a different perspective when it comes to different approaches to, I think it's medical wastes and different approaches of that way. So when you're looking at recycling or single use and all of that, it really does give that. And we have other peripheral partners that join and help us from different parts. Pennsylvania State Markets Development Center is a partner with us through our Recycle Organization Committee. So we really have everything from consultants to organics to builders to, and municipal governments. We have Nebraska Recycling Council. They're really doing a lot of really great work up in Nebraska. So I really appreciate the work there. And then City of Austin, Gina McKinley does a lot of great work. So having those different perspectives of municipal and private and nonprofit, I think helps a lot
Very good.
when we
So,
make our decisions and policies, right? Because we don't want to make a decision or a policy affecting our organization that is so one-sided, right?
right. And I love the fact that there are so many different voices at the table. So, and that's what's needed because you can't assume to know what textiles are doing and what the medical waste are doing and how they come together as far as the waste in the landfill.
Well,
So,
and an interesting facet to that is also just regionally how different policies are approached, or different approaches in different parts of the country. It's
right.
different on the west side than the east side and the north side. So it's good to have that ability to understand that.
So in April, you are going to have a zero waste farms. So the National Recycling Coalition is having their zero waste forum coming up this April. And then later in the year, you have the National Recycling Congress. So both of them, I believe, are annual events. Can you tell us a little bit about these events and some of the outcomes gained from these gatherings?
Absolutely. Let's start with the Zero Waste Forum. The
Sure.
Zero Waste Forum actually is a really great event to attend. It's really developed and organized by a nonprofit organization, Race to Zero Waste, and its theme is circular strategies for local impact. But the idea is to bring folks together to really talk in depth about zero waste. because in many parts of the country, many communities don't like to talk about zero waste. What does that mean? It just gets all controversial. But the concept here is to bring people together, and this is going to be in Park City, Utah. So if you would like to
Right.
attend, it's also going to be virtual. And just a quick note: it's on April 21st through the 23rd. So it really falls and lands on Earth Day. And it's really, from what we can tell, the only real national event that's happening that people across the country can attend on Earth Day and be a part of the same single thing. Earth Day is wonderful. It's a great event, and it's a great way to remember to do something. But a lot of Earth Day events are local, and you should do something local as well. But this is a great way to do something on a national level. But the Zero Waste Forum they're still building the actual agenda and the schedule, but it's going to really explore education, networking, and sustainable practices, and it's going to talk about food and various reusable systems for food and supporting green businesses and working with everybody to learn and to share knowledge around the whole zero waste effort.
Very good. So you said that's virtual. Is it in person and virtual, or is it just virtual?
It's in person and virtual. So
Okay, very
I
good.
reckon, yeah, and all NRC members can go on our website, and we offer a discount rate to NRC members. I think it's a 20% discount rate for both in person and virtual. So I think it's going to be a nice time, but also a really good way to be in the room with people in the same arena to learn and to learn what works and what doesn't work, and to grow from that.
Very good. And so tell us about the National Recycling Congress as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so the National Recycling Congress is NRC's peak event that we have. We don't have it every year. We have it just about every year. So we had it in October of 2025. Our next event will be, I think it's going to land in February. We haven't picked the exact week of 2027. And the reason for that is that we are looking at the ability to have a really great conference, but there's so much saturation in conferences these days that we didn't want to land when everything's happening.
Right.
But we're really proud to say that we're going to have our Congress in Puerto Rico. And it's going to be, and we're working those details right now. But again, the National Recycling Congress is really going to be fantastic. We're going to bring in featured speakers and plenaries and guests, and it tends to be the really one of the best conferences that really has a substance to it. And Haley was at the one we just had in Wichita State, and it just really goes deep and talks about what the issues are. It doesn't just go off and chase the butterflies. It really talks about what is it we need to do and what are the challenges, and really brings people together. So I encourage everyone to look out for that registration and that information coming out soon for that National Recycling Congress in Puerto Rico. So it'd be my first time to go to Puerto Rico too.
Very good, very good. That website is nrc.org?
Recycles.org.
Oh, recycles.org. Okay. All right. And so what are the biggest challenges that NRC is working to tackle to help U.S. communities reduce waste through recycling?
Yeah. There's a few challenges that we're working on. And for today, I wanted to talk about, probably what we all hear about is maybe some greenwashing, right? So you hear a lot about this is recyclable, or this is, don't worry about that. But I think that truth in what is out there and what can be recycled and the impacts it has on our environment and our lives is one of the big things. So not trying to take a real activist or political approach to it, but just honestly, with my experience dealing with residents and government agencies, is like, what is recyclable? Is it truly recyclable? I mean, obviously at the top of the heap is when people talk about plastics, right? Is it recyclable? And having the truth and the understanding of what is recyclable to help. I think another big challenge that we have are those chasing arrows. You're all familiar with the chasing arrows
Hmm.
on all the products. Those were
Right.
not designed for the consumer to say, oh, it's got a chasing arrow, it's recyclable. It was really designed for the industry. And I think it adds a lot of confusion to people who really want to recycle, but they see something and they're like, oh, it has the symbol on it, but it may or may not be recyclable because you really need to be in tune to your area, your region, to what is recyclable and what isn't. Textiles is a good one. In my region, there's not a lot of textile recycling, but I think people try, or, it goes to plastic or to bottles or to other materials. And I think those are some big hurdles that we face. I think it's just the confusion overall. I think helping to clear the air, so to speak,
Sure.
to people, to the public, to say these things are recyclable and these things are not. And maybe not only just say that, but explain why things are not
Right.
recyclable.
So let me ask you a question about those chasing arrows because that's really is the standard that a lot of people look for. So what qualifies us to put that symbol on anything?
You're hitting the nail on the head. And there should be an oversight organization, I don't know, or group that has a standardization or the watchdog of what gets put on, what gets a chasing arrow put on something, because there is none at this juncture. It's funny, I had this conversation with one of my peers just a couple of weeks ago about the chasing arrows and the oversight. And it'd be really interesting to be able to develop something like that. But that's a big, major national undertaking, and maybe even, we get a lot of materials imported. So how do
Right.
we get that imported material checked and so forth? But definitely one of our big hurdles for all of us to work on, right?
Yeah, and I would also say it's very interesting because in the complex where I live, there's a recycling bin, and I think everybody just puts anything in it. There's no clarification about what's
Yeah,
supposed to actually go in there. So, just the
yeah,
messaging sometimes of what goes in, because I believe it's just now I've been here for years. I believe that it's paper and cardboard, but I know that plastic and glass and everything goes in there. So,
yeah,
just
yeah.
thinking about that,
Yeah,
those kinds
and
of
part of
things
that,
as a casual person.
yeah, and I think part of that to me inspires me that people care enough to say, I really would like this to be recyclable. I'm trying to do the right thing, but I'm confused because it has the arrow, or I'm confused because I don't have enough. I think that is, people call it wish cycling, and it does in some places cause challenges in MRFs with the materials that go in there. But on the side that people are trying. So our challenge in our industry is that clarity in that. How do we train? I don't want to use the word change behavior, but how do we change the behavior where people are looking at their regional streams and understanding that? So one of the things that we implemented in my community was an app that you can search and you could type in what it is, and then
Hmm.
it'll tell you if it's recyclable here locally or hard to recycle or not recyclable. So having those sorts of technologies out there would be helpful too. But you're right, people put a lot of different things, and there's also bad actors that just use it as a trash can. But
Right.
I think that's different than what you
Hmm.
were talking about.
Right. So, what are some of the organization's biggest wins? What would you say? Maybe some of the best practices or policies that NRC has developed or
Mhm.
advocated for to support sustainable materials management.
Yeah, absolutely. NRC has a 50-year history of doing this, and I don't have them all memorized. So sorry, folks out there on
That's
podcast land.
okay.
But off the top, I would say that if you're on our website, we have a page just with our policies that we've developed over the last 50 years. And most recently, we developed a policy in regards to advanced recycling. So advanced recycling sounds fantastic, doesn't it? It's but when you really get into it, there was a few things in that policy that was being developed across the nation for advanced recycling that just didn't meet the definition for recycling. So we developed a policy statement for advanced recycling. And when we do things of that nature, we bring our organization together. I don't just sit in my office and write a policy. We bring our stakeholders together and have that conversation. But I think that is, if you go on there, I think there were 46 policies, but some to highlight that are like really big. Early in NRC's beginnings, the NRC actually worked, I think they sued the EPA. So back in the early days, one of our founding members wrote a paper called Waste Paper Wasted. And and I've yet to find that document. So I'm going to try to continue to find that and put it on our history tag on our website. But with that said, that led to the NRC advocating to the EPA to implement a Resource Conservation Recovery Act, which is a big deal because the EPA's Resource Conservation Recovery Act, I think, was initially implemented in 1965, but it had a lot of different loopholes. And I think that's where the concept of the wasted paper came from. So the NRC worked with the EPA, and they were able to initiate changes that tightened up all the gaps so that it addressed the increasing problems that we all face from the growing volume of landfill waste. So they were that effort really kind of helped put the NRC on the map. And we've had a really great relationship with the EPA since then, working with them to review things and to build and to work with them. So,
can you say the name of that act again?
Its acronym is called RCRA. It's RCRA. It's the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act.
Okay. So that would probably entail reuse as well, and repair and things like that. Is that?
I don't know if repair was the topic back in 1978 when this happened, but yes, I think it definitely led to where we're at today. But it's certainly looking at our resources and saying we need to look at our resources and not just throw it in the waste bin and landfill it, because we're better than that. Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest innovations that are helping U.S. communities recycle more effectively?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different components that are helping communities. And I think I mentioned earlier, pay-as-you-throw programs. It's kind of a philosophy where it's not, you just have a bin. You pay more for a bigger bin, you pay less for a smaller bin. And I think that helps communities. And I think that our community here demonstrated, I think, all the regional ones here. It's pay-as-you-throw isn't everywhere, but it should be. I think it's a really great approach to give the consumer the choice, right? Yeah, I have a lot of trash. Well, I don't want to spend a lot of money. I can probably sort my trash in these other two bins. I think that other things that have helped communities. I'm going to step forward a little bit and say some of the things that will help communities is extended producer responsibility legislation. So we have about 7 or 8 states right now that are passed EPR rules and regulations. And I think what is good about that is it puts the onus of the recycling across the manufacturing and the consumer, and it creates a circular economy that'll benefit a community, right? Because in my example, our hauler will collect recycling, and then there's a value put on that recycled material, and it's all based on, through the whole EPR program, the fees and such that are put on different products, so that we can have buy-in on the processing and the circularness and recycling of materials. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm having a question, though, as far as the manufacturers. Are they just paying like a flat fee for this?
So EPR is a little more complex than that, and in each state has a different kind of approach, and so the way that these programs are developed in each state, there's a organization that runs that, and then they need to determine what the value is or the cost is for a certain material or packaging So everything's a little different. If you have something, the way I understand it, if you have something that's super highly recyclable and easy to do, the price is less than something that's really trash.
Okay.
So that there's a variableness to it. But I think the purpose of it is to create that economy and to create that incentive for haulers to be able to collect material, because they're going to not only collect the material, but they're going to definitely gain some revenue from the work that they're doing.
Right. Incentives for haulers and also incentives for manufacturers to do it a little
Yeah,
bit more clean.
I would hope so. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. With so many challenges, what gives you hope that we'll be able to ramp up recycling efforts efficiently to avoid some of the more serious consequences of the current dumping practices that go
Hmm. Yeah. There, I do have hope, and I that's why I'm in the industry.
on?
And I think I get a lot of that from the people that I work with and the people that I meet. I mean, organizations like Planet Aid, organizations like the ones who are our members and our sponsors at the NRC, and those around us that are really trying hard to make a difference and to make a change. I think that there's also a lot of awareness, a lot more awareness these days about our environment. And I
Mhm.
think that um, people are, like you were saying, they want to go to the recycle bin and put their stuff in there. Um, but we need to work on more education and more outreach. So it's those components of changes. And I think we're also seeing newer technologies that can help sort material in our MRF
Yeah.
systems or recycle facilities, so that, it is clean material, that it's marketable, and that it has a good economic engine that can help create that circularity. And new technologies are coming out. I meet people all the time that are trying new things and making new things, and those are the pieces that give me hope and that make me feel like we're making progress towards greater
Yeah.
recycling.
I love that because just in the fact that you were talking about the technology, I was looking in some videos about just the way some of these things are sorted. It's just
Hmm. Hmm.
amazing to see the separation that happens just mechanically. Um,
Hmm.
you know, some using like technology as far as blowing, the lightweight plastics away and just
Robots, right?
yeah, it's
Ro-
amazing. So that is very hopeful.
but I
Um,
think the message too is about Um, I'm hopeful, but yes, I think one message is reuse and less single use,
right.
that needs to be out there as well. But
Yeah, we're
but
all
uh,
about
that
that reuse.
that's the message. Yeah, reuse.
Right. Very good. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to you, Haley.
Thank you. It's just so interesting to me how you have this innovation and new technology, and we've come so far in terms of recycling. But at the end of the day, it's this education and marketing challenge for consumers. So I'm just wondering, what is there effective messaging that you like that you've seen? I'm just kind of wondering in that messaging area, what have you seen to be effective in terms of educating people, motivating people?
I think it's a mixture of things, Haley. I think that it's having communities, unfortunately, but fortunately, communities need to have an effective marketing outreach and connectivity with their communities that talks to people about recycling, the importance of recycling, and how to recycle. Well, our world has changed so much over the years. It's like, how do we do that? In the old days, it was print, it was whatever. Now it's these things. It's electronic. So being able to have apps and so forth, I think that's the way our world is working these days. Um, I think when it comes to messaging, I think simplicity is the key. That's something I learned a long time ago from a professor, that is the key. Don't make it too complicated, and be direct about it and clear of what is and what isn't recyclable. I guess really that's kind of the bottom line when it comes to that specific question, is this clear messaging and the onus. But I think that I think that message also should be not only just local, but it should be regional and even almost national as well. And if we had a national approach, I think an example is in England. I was part of some work up there, and they have a national approach to what is recyclable, what is not recyclable, and how they sort. Here in the United States, we have a mixed match of everything. And I think that adds to the confusion. So continuity, that's why, for example, the EPR that they're passing in Colorado will have recycling implementation for all Coloradans, but also a standardized approach to what you can throw in the bin, and then education programs. So
Very good. And then obviously making it easy and low cost for residents is a huge, that's really kind of our mantra here as we try to make it easy for a lot of people to take a small step towards, a bit of a more sustainable world. And so I'm just wondering the sort of different bin sizes and pricing. That seems really cool and innovative. Are there other things that people are trying to, one, make it easy or to lower the costs associated with their recycling?
There have been studies and tests of like a true pay-as-you-throw by weight type of technology. I looked into that a while back, and the technology wasn't quite ready for my community. But that's really an interesting approach that would be different rather than just bin size. I think it's far more simple to have a different bin size strategy.
Right.
But weighing trash would be different. Yeah. And then continuing to learn from our partners, not just here in the United States, because we do things different across the country, but learn from people across the globe of how they do things. What they do in Europe, their trash is different. They just have a different approach. But then how do we get to that implementation here is another question. But good to continue to learn.
And we're really focused, obviously, on textile reuse. Ideally, people donate clothes and shoes that are gently used, and so they can be reused. And we know that the end of life textile recycling is a challenge. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the textile recycling versus paper recycling or glass recycling.
Yeah, it's a whole nother industry, I would say. I think it's important, and I think it's to the benefit of what I see. It's become more popular for reuse and resale stores and such. I think that it's the right approach, and we tend to be a very wealthy country, and we tend to go through things, and I'm sure you see in your containers really good materials, and why would they chuck that? But to be able to reuse those and to resell those and give them or sell them to people in need, that's the right approach. I think what is an area of concern sometimes for me is when you have the leftovers, so to speak, they just don't go anywhere. And then what?
The end of life. Yeah, that's the real challenge. What do we do when they're rags and they can't be reused?
Yeah. So I mean, I research and look, and I look at all the different things. I see everything from creating rags, which is another use, but then that ends up in but I see things from making bricks out of clothed textile materials. I see that all over. But I think what concerns me, or where I would have any angst, is sometimes, even with regular commodities of materials like plastics or whatever, sending them off to another country where they're not managed in a safe practice type of approach. So I think that's where I would throw up my red flag or yellow flag and say, we need to do better than that. But certainly we have a lot of textiles, and I think that is an area that could use a lot more focus and a lot more outreach and education, because I know not only myself sometimes, but our communities here have those same questions. What do I do with this? So
we see growing popularity in reuse and buying used products and that sort of thing. And what comes along with that then is increasing competition to collect the clothes. And so, what we see as there's more, as people realize that this is not trash and there's value here, more competition. It's good to have established organizations like Goodwill, like Planet Aid, who have developed these supply chains and relationships with others to make sure that the clothes end up getting a second life. So that, that's definitely top of mind for us. You spoke a little bit about NRC growth recently. I'm just wondering if you can provide any insight. Where is that growth coming from? What's fueling the growth? What are you seeing?
Well, I like to think it's me. No, I'm just teasing. I think that
I just want to say clearly that's part of the formula. So it's another variable.
I just had to say that. No, it's not me. I'm telling you what it is. I think it's we're very deliberate at the NRC about our action steps and what we're trying to do. Not trying to do anything goofy. We want to build true approach to help our affiliates and our members. We have 10,000 members. We have affiliates across the states to be supported and to learn from them, and also to teach. We're doing a series for our state recycling organization leadership on how to improve your state recycling organization. What are the things you do at that level? Because when you have your organization, you can build your membership and get more engagement. But I think we're also, we made the NRC board of directors made a deliberate decision to have somebody, whether it was me or somebody else, answering the phone, as I like to say, and returning the call and doing things. And, one of my missions that I'm sincere about is I want to be able to provide that support and that service to all of our members. Why be a part of the NRC and be a part of the NRC? Let's work that and make that circle work. I think that providing leadership and providing advice and providing outreach and providing guidance and policy, that's what I hear the most from our membership. We can provide policy, then that helps their regions to say, well, the national group says this. So I think all of those kind of combined, building relationships, but being there and doing things to help make a change and help grow. And I think those are the pieces. I could be wrong. 100%. You can tell me.
No, I think you're on the right track anyway. It might be a little more expansive than that, but we don't have too much time left. So I'll wrap it up here with one final question. I happened to catch a presentation by, I don't know if it was by Recycle Hawaii, but it was students from Hawaii who had, were working with other organizations to ensure that their school was zero waste. And I just thought it was the coolest program in terms of, one, you're taking this school and making it zero waste, so they would sort through but really it was the students who had ownership of this program, and you could just see how they sort of latched onto this and how effective it was in sort of changing their perception about waste. So I'm just wondering, you think that's something a little bit broader in terms of younger generations having a little bit, maybe being a little bit more savvy, having a little bit more affinity to sustainability and that sort of thing?
I'm going to just give that an overall yes. I think that our youth is important, and I think they get it, and they're kind of frustrated. I think also, though, for that particular program in Recycle Hawaii, that their leadership, Christine Kublai, really helped to foster that work. And she really, with respect and dignity, teaches the youth to own and to respect the land and to do all those things. And an interesting side note to that as well is, from the students working with the schools, they're now jumping to working with the communities, community-based organizations, to get that out to not just a school, but to the neighborhoods. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to see that happening. But I do think, back to your initial question, that the younger generation is really understanding and bought into this. I don't mean to say it that way, bought into it. They really understand the importance of resource conservation and not polluting. And that's one thing we didn't even talk about today was education in the school systems, and
Mhm.
it's really important, even from K through 12, to start the conversation about resource conservation and not waste and reuse and all that. So I'm
I
also, that gives me hope as well.
Yeah, I think frustration, I think, is the right word in a lot of these cases. And so to see, I think what I saw was then they had an outlet to address this, and sort of it seems like that was a fulfilling thing for them. You have this frustration and you're able to take action and change your community. It's just so impressive. And again, yes, provide some optimism when we are sometimes inundated with waste numbers and pounds and these sort of things. So,
Yeah.
well, I think that's about it for me. I'll turn it back over to you, Monica. Thanks so much. Really interesting insights here.
Mhm. Yep, thank you so much, Charles. And I wanted to kind of echo what you said about being touchable, because I am so thankful that when I actually went randomly onto your website and got your email, that you answered. I'm like, the executive director answered this? I thought it was going to go through some channels, but it went directly to you. And that, I think, is a testament to the organization and to the fact that
Thank you.
you're reachable. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, thank you for reaching out. This is wonderful. I mean, you have a great organization, and what a great opportunity to have some time to talk about this and for others to learn as well.
Very good. Very good. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid. I want to thank our guest, Charles Kamenides from the National Recycling Coalition. And if you made it this far, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment and let us know what you think about the program. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid. We hope you've been inspired by the ideas that we've explored today, and we encourage you to search for sustainable solutions you can pursue and be a good steward in your neck of the woods and beyond. Haley?
Thank you so much, Monica. A few reminders. If you want to stay connected with us, like Monica said, please hit that subscribe button. You can also find us online and all social media channels. And please share with your friends, family, and colleagues. Together, we can make a difference. And remember, change starts with awareness and action. So let's keep the conversation going. Feel free to reach out to us on social media, through our website. Share your thoughts, ideas, and stories with us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, it's a big world out there, but every small change counts. Together, we can build a better, more sustainable future. Thanks so much.